Tensions over mysterious drones flying above New Jersey continue to rise after a drone crashed into a person's backyard. But at least now we know whoever's flying them is a friggin' woman, right?
I think that was a sexist, misogynist joke there, suggesting that women can't drive drones now. They can't drive drones. That is, that's unbelievable. I wonder if he thinks it's Asian women, because that's, what is up with that? Misogynist. Typical Democrat, I think. Pretty much typical. Well, good Tuesday to you, and welcome back. We remain at 888-630-9625. It's a wonderful phone number. So easy to remember. 888-630-9625. Wonderful, wonderful. Since a drone, that was a sexist, misogynist, racist drone joke. Michael Che at Saturday Night Live making that joke in poor taste. But when you're a Democrat, it's okay. You can make all the jokes you want in poor taste. We've got a number of things going on. We had a school shooting. We had a school shooting yesterday, and at a Christian school, another Christian school, and it's kind of interesting for a number of reasons. I mean, it's tragic, of course, and a teacher and a kid were murdered by a lunatic, naturally, and we've got that going on. But it should be noted there was, and I don't know how it started yesterday because it was a Christian school, and in Tennessee, the Christian school massacre was by a transgender young woman who said that she was a young man. And yesterday we learned that it was a young woman involved in the shooting at this Christian school. And so naturally the question, if not the rumors, started to spread. Well, is this a transgender situation like that? And it's a little bit peculiar, but the young woman, who has a woman's name, actually goes by the name Sam. The young woman goes by, and it's not her name, but goes by, hey, I want to be called Samantha, but call me Sam. And that's a little weird, and I'll get back to that. But the weapon used was apparently a 9mm pistol. The Democrats are immediately jumping in, and so we need gun control, which is kind of interesting because with the CEO murder, they didn't talk about gun control at all. They talked about health insurance, CEO control. That's the Democrat Party. They're a peculiar bunch. There is no doubt about that. So we did have the school shooting yesterday. It's terrible, and I'll touch on that. We've also, since we opened with a joke about drones this morning, and just before I came into the radio station here, I received a video showing flying objects in Washington, D.C., apparently above the United States Capitol. It's a big white dome with a statue on top and a bunch of mostly lying people underneath. And the video, I'm not sure what it tells us, if anything at all, but it's clear that there are, I think, 3 flying objects. They have white lights on them, and they're flying. It looks like they might be hovering, but it could be the angle looking south toward Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C. But I'm gonna look further into that, and I'll keep you up to date. I'll keep you posted on that. There are a lot of other fun things going on that President Trump now is considering suing another news organization, looking at suing another news organization, the DeMoines Register, after he sued ABC Fake News and George Fake Stephanopoulos, the Democrat Party apparatchik posing as a journalist for all these years at ABC Fake News, where they pay him, I believe, $25 million a year to tell lies for the Democrat Party. It's good to be a Democrat. They pay much better. I'll have to give them that. They definitely pay much better. But President Trump sued ABC News and won, and we found out on Saturday. How do we find out on Saturday? The courts aren't open on Saturday, but we found out on Saturday that ABC News settled $15 million plus $1 million for President Trump's lawyers for their legal fees. And we've got that. Now President Trump considering suing the DeMoines Register because they put out a big poll that the news media consider to be very, very important just before the presidential election from their really, really reliable pollster at the DeMoines Register, who the news media have never met, but they admire her greatly because she's a woman and not flying a drone, and she has delivered on the polls over the years. So the news media couldn't have been more excited when the DeMoines Register, their final poll before Election Day, said that Kamala Harris was winning over Donald Trump 47 percentage points to 44 percentage points. It's a 3-point spread, might even beat the margin of error. And the news media couldn't have been more excited. They were ecstatic. Yay, because the path to victory goes through Iowa. And then remember, like every state they mentioned practically was the path to victory. And if you didn't win that state, then you couldn't win. And Iowa was a huge one. And the Des Moines Register poll came out, and they said that Kamala was beating President Trump 47% to 44%. And then a matter of days later, Donald Trump actually won Iowa 56% to 42.7%. So that's by a lot. I think it'd be fair to say by 13.3 percentage points. I think that's, if I'm doing my gazintas correctly, like Jethro Bodine, that's 13 points. So so she was wrong. If you look at 13, she was off by 16 percentage points. But they do everything they can to corrupt the presidential election, the Democrats do. And now President Trump is either, has already announced perhaps, or is saying that he's going to sue them because they need to be sued. They deserve to be sued because they spread lies. Lies, I say, all lies, nothing but lies. And President Trump looking at suing them, kind of a big deal. Also, President Trump, unlike Joe Biden, unlike Kamala Harris, he held like a 1-hour press conference yesterday where he came out and he spoke extemporaneously, no teleprompter, no notes. He was going off the cuff, off the top of his head. He took questions from a bunch of Democrats and maybe one or two reporters. But the Democrats like, are you going to preemptively attack Iran and bomb Iran and start World War III? Because I didn't vote for you, and I'd be very happy if you told me, yes, you were going to preemptively attack Iran because you're a warmonger, and Joe Biden and the Democrats are not. Of course, everywhere the Democrats go, war follows, or they bring war one way or the other. And, of course, we had near unprecedented peace during the first 4 years of President Trump in his first term as President of the United States. But they don't remember stuff real good, do they? These Democrats, and these fake reporters, they don't remember anything if it hadn't happened in the last 5 minutes and wasn't on their phone. It's got to be on their phone. They have the brains of 5-year-olds and like that. But President Trump held a press conference yesterday, and he covered the waterfront. And I've got a lot of audio for you. President Trump, Mar-a-Lago yesterday, 1-hour event, speaking, taking questions, taking answers, something Kamala never did because her brain is not up to it, something Joe Biden never does because his brain is not up to it, and they're not well. Trump weighs in on vaccine and drones in freewheeling press conference at Mar-a-Lago. The Jefferson City News Tribune has the headline. It's a pretty good headline because that's actually what happened. Trump says he's a believer in polio vaccine and other news conference takeaways. President Trump never said he had a problem with the polio vaccine, and in fact, this is an attack on RFK Jr. They're trying to assassinate him, the Democrats are, politically at least, and he has said that he's not against the polio vaccine. But the news media doesn't care. They're not truth people. What are they, Michael? Democrats. They're Democrats. And what does that mean, Michael? It means that they're untruthful a great deal of the time. Isn't that amazing? So, yeah, President Trump is calling the Des Moines Register poll election interference. Tell you should sue John Brennan and the 51 fraudulent, criminal, corrupt, so-called intelligence officials that tampered with our 2020 presidential election. talk about election interference. That was massive, large-scale election interference, and they should have the snot suit out of them, not to be indelicate, but there it is. And I love this. Even NBC News has come around to this one. Trump is already acting like he's president, colon. They really love their colons. From the politics desk. You know, you didn't need a colon and then a second thing for that. They need a lot of help writing headlines and stories. But Trump is already acting like he's president. And the explanation for that is pretty simple. Somebody has to. And Joe Biden checked out long ago. His brain doesn't work. He's gone. Nobody knows where he is. Kamala, who knows where she is? We have no government. Mayorkas comes out to lie to us once a week or something. And that's it. And they lie about drones. They lie about... And are these drones looking for a nuclear signature, for a radioactive signature in the New York metropolitan area? Would somebody in our government tell us that? And the answer is, well, no, they're not going to talk to us about that because they're not honest, and we don't believe our government anymore. But this is just one more reason to not believe our government anymore. I love Trump is already acting like he's president, and really it should be colon, because somebody has to. That should be the second part of the NBC fake news headline there. Also out of New York, corrupt Democrat third world judge Juan Merchan won't budge on throwing out Trump conviction despite U.S. Supreme Court ruling. Isn't that fascinating? And he's saying, oh, no, he's still taking it to Trump because Democrats believe that the dictionary definition of the word power is something to be abused by us for political purposes, and they're hell-bent on abusing whatever power they have. And I'll get back to that, too. If I were Jen Psaki, I'd circle back to it. But right now I'm just going down my stories sheet because I've got a lot of them. Remarkable stuff going on. The House of Representatives receives classified briefing about mysterious drones, like the ones over the Capitol this morning with this video here. And so they're going to get a briefing. Now, why would it be a classified briefing? If it is what they're telling us, then there's no, and it probably isn't, because they lie all the time. They're our government. The rules are simple. They lie to us. We know they're lying to us. We know they're lying to us, but they keep lying to us. That's the old Soviet Union rule, as put out by Elena Gorakova in her book about the Soviet days. And we are there because the Democrat Party has become the USSR. It's tragic but true. So the House receives classified briefing about mysterious drones. And again, if it's what they say, it's airplanes, it's privately owned drones, it's kids, it's commercial drones, it's all perfectly legal, there's nothing to be concerned about, then why would even Congress get a classified briefing rather than an unclassified briefing? Can you answer me that? Riddle me that. Isn't that amazing? And here's Larry Hogan, the former kind of Republican governor of the state of Maryland. He announced the other day that he saw drones, and now the news media has it this way, the Baltimore Sun. Astronomers, they got astronomers. Astronomers perplexed by Hogan drone claim, which was, quote, so clearly, end quote, a constellation. So they know they tapped into his brain between his retinas and his cortex, and they know that what he saw was a constellation, so clearly a constellation. It was planets and things, suns, stars out in space. And he said, look, drones, because he's so stupid, he sees stars in the sky, and he thinks they're drones. Because our government lies to us nonstop, like the Soviets, because they're the left. They're not liberals. You're going to have to take my word for it for now, but later you'll see how right I was. Also, the Democrats love murder, don't they? Multiple documentaries about Luigi Mangione already in the works. They're making movies about him, and then there'll be dramatic films about him. He'll be the good guy. He'll be the hero of the story. Trump rips fans of suspected killer Luigi Mangione. Really terrible that some people seem to admire him, President Trump said. The Democrats disagree. Isn't that amazing? Funny, a British rock band in California touring the United States. They went to a Starbucks and it didn't go so well. I've got that story for you. And, mayhem, Democrat Party silliness. The truth is spoken here. We are at 888-630-9625. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. And we have returned. Yeah, when I get to this British rock band in California story coming up. Right now, let's go to the we've also got the Broadway show with a Supreme Court justice. Broadway musical is a queer knockoff of Romeo and Juliet because Broadway is desperate for anything new and they're very, very unoriginal. Let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Jeff calling from Milton, Delaware. Jeffrey, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, good morning, Chris. Thanks for letting me lead off. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas. Thank you very much.
Oh, no, the pleasure's all mine. So I'd like to throw my hat in the ring with a nickname for little Georgie boy on the morning program on ABC.
Snuffleupagus?
Not to step on your toes.
Not at all.
Yeah, that guy. Uh-huh. Yeah. Not to step on your toes, but I'd like to give him the nickname of George Staphylococcus.
Staphylococcus.
And move on to my... Yeah. Then move on to my comment about George. So he has to snivel and agonizingly apologize. I think he's going to apologize. I'm not sure. But let's not forget, I know that you remember. I know that I remember. Most of your listening audience probably remembers that. Oh, little Lord Fauntleroy, Georgie, he ran all that interference for Bill Clinton back in the day when Bill was president with all his little extracurricular activities. And that's to be let's just remember that about George, because he is basically just a little guy. He's a weasel and a rat fink, and that is pretty much what he is.
And a staph infection, apparently. He's some kind of a staph infection as well. Well, that's right. He's they made a movie about him because they were heroes of the Revolution. James Carville and George Snuffleupagus, and the War Room, where they with the bimbo eruptions, and they slapped down any women that came forward to say what happened to them at the hands of Bill Clinton. Yeah, and then he's the guy that All right, as I mentioned, President Trump now either already suing or talking about suing the DeMoines Register and their pollster there, the newspaper, and it's a newspaper that is, generally speaking, respected, right? And that's a tough row to hoe right there all by itself. But the idea that President Trump, who is just off a victory in court over ABC News and George Snuffleupagus, which Jeff was just talking about, and it's true, the headlines, ABC News, George Stephanopoulos agree to apologize to Trump, pay $16 million. And it's kind of an unusual set of circumstances, to be sure. George Stephanopoulos, who, as Jeff was correctly pointing out, was one of the primary pointy end of the spear defenders of Bill Clinton when it came to Paula Jones, who I've met, Anita Broderick, who I've met. You had the Monica Lewinsky thing, who I met and worked with and gave a ride home from work one day and actually traveled with on Air Force planes and all that. I met a number of the women that at least said that they were sexually assaulted by Bill Clinton over the years. And George Snuffleupagus was one of the primary hatchet boys, along with James Carville, the Ragin' Cajun, who famously said, "You never know what you'll turn up when you drag a $100 bill through a trailer park." And they came up with bimbo eruptions. That was the problem they had. They smeared all the women. That was before Pound Me Too. But Bill Clinton was, boy, talk about being on the leading edge of Pound Me Too. I think that Bill Clinton was leading the way on all that stuff, wasn't he? Yeah, he sure was. Of course, he was following in the footsteps of the Kennedy family, wasn't he? Yeah, so pretty much in footsteps of the Kennedy family. So ABC News and George Snuffleupagus have reached a settlement with Donald Trump in his defamation suit. The network will pay $15 million to a charity, CNN types. It's going to the Trump library, but never mind that. $1 million to Trump's attorney's fees, and they will issue an apology. A lot of good that'll do, and it was really the limpest, weakest, most buried apology you've ever seen that they put at the bottom of an online article from ages ago. And say, yeah, good enough, right? Yeah, give us the $16 million. And the Democrats, like, well, who was I talking to? A lib, a Dem, saying, oh, they just had to do this because they want access to the Trump White House. I don't think it's about access to the Trump White House. I think it's that they didn't want George Stephanopoulos to be put on the stand in court and be forced to face a battery of questions and videotapes showing him selling the Russian collusion lie. And you could just I would throw in the kitchen sink if I were representing President Trump as an attorney and start putting in stuff about masks and vaccines and all the misinformation and disinformation that ABC News and George Stephanopoulos have put out over the years. I'd love to do that. You'd spend days and days just humiliating George Stephanopoulos, and they decided, what the heck, we pay him $25 million a year. Let's just pay the ticket. Because to them, $16 million is just the ticket, right? And they love Snuffleupagus, so they got that going. Now, President Trump, the headline, let's go to the radical left wing. Huffington Post, the frauds over there. Election interference is the headline in quotation marks. Trump threatens to sue DeMoines Register over poll. The pollster behind the now infamous survey has said she's mystified by the allegations she sought to release a biased poll. Sure, showed Kamala Harris ahead. Now, this poll not only showed Kamala Harris ahead, showed her ahead by about 3 points. I have my data right over here, but the pollster that is famous for giving great polls. She does great polls. She gives great poll in Iowa, and of course you can't win without winning Iowa. That's they always tell you come election day. You can't win without winning Nevada. You can't win without winning Pennsylvania. You can't win without winning Minnesota and Wisconsin and Michigan and the path to victory and all that stuff. But the Des Moines Register poll with their famous pollster lady said that Kamala was ahead just before Election Day. Kamala was ahead 47% to 44% ahead of Trump, right? And the news media loved it.
All this amid an eye-popping new Iowa poll that's either an outlier or a canary in the coal mine that could explain a surge in late female registration among women in Wisconsin as well.
Yes, Andrea Mitchell at NBC Fake News. And they were very excited. Could be an outlier. Well, boy, was it an outlier, because she had Kamala Harris ahead by 3 percentage points leading up to Election Day. And Trump won 42.7 to 56%. So, honestly, that's pretty huge. Really, 43% for Kamala on Election Day. That's how much of the vote she got. President Trump got 56%. That's a 13.3% spread. So she was off by 16.3%.
Missed it by that much.
That much. That's And he would hold his right index finger a half an inch over his right thumb, too, wouldn't he? Maxwell Smart missed it by that much. Isn't that amazing? So she and the Des Moines Register may be sued, and I think President Trump breaking all kinds of new ground when it comes to dealing with the corrupt news media and the frauds at the Huffington Post, who are left-wing hatchet boys and girls, and some are in between. President-elect Donald Trump said he's planning a lawsuit against the Des Moines Register over its final election poll showing Trump running several points behind Vice President Kamala Harris in Iowa, a traditionally red state. Meaning Republican state. Red is for communists and leftists, and Republicans shouldn't be called red, especially by the Reds, who label themselves blue because they got to choose the colors. So, pretty amazing stuff. In my opinion, it was fraud and it was election interference, Trump said during a press conference Monday afternoon at his Florida golf club. Later calling last month, after calling last month for an investigation into the matter. Now, the Des Moines Register and their MediaCom Iowa poll had Harris running 4 percentage points ahead, almost, but the Huffington Post says 4. Ahead of Trump just days before the election, Trump wound up winning the state by 16 points. So she's a heck of a pollster. And her name is Ann Seltzer. Ann Seltzer. You think she's related to Brian Seltzer?
I mean, we need to talk about the elephant in the room. There was this other interesting poll this weekend in Iowa, a state that hasn't gone blue since Obama in 2012. Harris, according to the Des Moines Register, is leading Trump by 3 points. Of course, this could end up being an anomaly, but this is according to the well-respected Des Moines Register poll. And Seltzer out there, who has legendary status in terms of predicting elections.
Legendary. Yeah, she's the gold standard among pollsters. And, boy, she couldn't get it much more wrong if she set out to get it more wrong. Isn't that amazing? And with that, before I get to that, I want to get to the rock band in California before getting to other bigger news of the day. But let's go to the telephones. Let's go to John calling from Kensington, Maryland. John, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Oh, hi, Chris. I used to live in Iowa for 20 plus years. I had a regular job, but I worked on a lot of campaigns and was very news aware. And the Des Moines Register is just like the Washington Post. It's where you go to get the liberal version of the news. However, I do have to say, for a long time, Ann Seltzer did call a lot of elections accurately. I would say only in recent years has she been in error.
You think maybe it's Trump derangement syndrome?
It could be. With Trump suing her now, we'll get more detail about that, I'm sure. She did, when all the Democrats in Iowa were endorsing Howard Dean in that election, her polling did show John Kerry emerging. And ultimately, as you saw, Kerry did win. She called I would say more recently, she's gotten races somewhat wrong. Like she called Chuck Grassley close, or I mean, it was closer than it actually turned out to be, and then Joni Ernst as well.
Now, the crazy left-wing news media has headlines now like, Trump's retribution tour begins, because he's suing these frauds, these charlatans in the news media that do tamper with our elections and corrupt our elections. Although I do think that ahead of Ann Seltzer at the Des Moines Register, he should be suing John Brennan and those 51 corrupt so-called intelligence officials that deliberately went out of their way to lie to the American people in an orchestrated conspiracy to corrupt the 2020 presidential election, which I believe they did. But I tell you, in the latest update here, it's not threatening to sue anymore. Now the Hill has the headline, Trump sues Des Moines Register and pollster Ann Seltzer. And I gotta tell you, John, I think it's good that the news media is being taken on. And who better to take them on than Donald Trump. No one better. I mean, obviously, no Democrats are going to sue them because they're all fluffers for the Democrat Party and for every Democrat that comes along. So Republicans have to take them on. And I do believe that, you need to take the bull by the horns and get in the face of the media like they're in your face all day, every day if you're a Republican, and certainly if you're President Trump. So, she was a once respected, it's too bad, 68 years old. Now she goes out on a sour note, to be sure. But honestly, if you're going to be in the news business and you're going to be a pollster, try telling the truth and not lying and corrupting or getting it so wrong that people think you're lying, because our news media really needs to have a big conference at the Aspen Institute or something and say out loud that they're about as well trusted and admired as a gang of child molesters from Venezuelan prisons. Just amazing stuff. John, thank you for the call and for being a solid American working in politics in Iowa and all that good stuff, and now living in Kensington, Maryland. Thank you, John. I want to get into this story that I spotted out of California today. That at first, well, I don't want to say I chuckled because it's not really funny, but it's Democrat world. We're just living in it. Let me go to the story out of California, Michael, where a rock band, a British rock band, they're touring, and they're in California, and they're British. And the local NBC station in the Bay Area in San Francisco did the story out there. British rock band speaks out after being robbed at gunpoint in Vallejo, going to Vallejo. And the local station, members of a touring rock band out of England, not the Beatles, but nevertheless they're working on it, speaks out after they said they were robbed at gunpoint in Vallejo. There are witnesses all over the place. Members of a rock band called Sports Team from England, and says that hours before they got to their concert stop, they stopped for a coffee at a Starbucks, and you'll never guess what happened.
Get down, Lauren, get down!
Members of the Sports Team rock band, just in from England hours before, stopped to get a coffee at Starbucks in Vallejo yesterday morning.
Coffee.
That's when robbers broke into their Sprinter van. A band member and manager went out to stop them.
At that point, somebody shouts that they're holding something, and then he pulled out a gun and pointed it at Lauren, our tour manager, and was sort of like waving it around at us, like to get back. So we then retreated. And like ducked for cover.
He ducked for cover. Here, they retreated. Right then. Right, everyone down. He's got a pistol. Is a pistol. And they went. And then the best part, I think, is so they were robbed. Nobody was hurt, I'm happy to say. But they stopped. They're on tour. They're from England. They stopped in Vallejo, California, in the greater Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. Stopped at a Starbucks. They see their Sprinter van with all their stuff being broken into. They go out and confront him. Gun comes out. And then what really shocked them.
Ring the police! Ring the police! Guys, somebody ring the police!
Band members tell us as bad as the robbery was, things got worse when someone did call Vallejo police and was told to file a report online. It's not the way the situation would have been handled in their hometown of London.
And it just felt like it was really normalized for the whole community there, the people in Starbucks, the police who we spoke to. I think that's kind of what is almost more shocking and shaken us more than the incident itself.
They act like it was just as what happens when everybody goes to Starbucks.
I asked the band's lead singer if this incident changed his image of the United States.
I think this is the greatest country on earth, and I think it just needs to prove it on so many levels. It's I understand why guns are a problem here, and I kind of understand the sort of frontier spirit that exists in America, but I do think it's got to be time to make a change.
Now it's California. It's much of the country is still relatively normal English-speaking guy. He sounds like a British guy, doesn't he? They all sound a little like Monty Python, don't they? And now the residents of Vallejo, California, have sent a letter to their governor, Gavin Newsom, who's a fashion model in waiting. And it says, our city has been grappling with escalating crime rates due to severe understaffing in our local police department because Democrats defund the police and undermine the police. We deserve a clean and safe city where we can live without fear. That's the residents of Vallejo, California, to the governor, Gavin Newsom. He'll ignore them, of course, because he's probably at a vineyard having his teeth whitened or something, maybe getting coiffed at a coiffure. Yeah. Welcome to America, English band. Get some padlocks for your Sprinter van there, because next place you go in California will be the same thing. Now, were the robbers English speaking? I'm curious about that. Maybe they were Venezuelan gang members that the Democrats invited in.
Well, she turned me into a newt. A newt. Got better.
The left is very corrupt, of course, and this British rock band sports team, they were held up at gunpoint. Was it by illegal aliens? We may never know. But now the British guys are like, hey, it's the greatest country in the world, but we should prove it. And, we got to liberate Europe again. What do we have to do? Have to keep you safe from the Soviet Union again for generations? But maybe the sports team should be more worried about the Democrat Party in the United States. I know that I am. Here is the Hill out of Washington, D.C. today with the headline, Senate Democrats push plan to abolish Electoral College. Right? And the radical left-wing extremists at New Republic, the New Republic, Senate Democrats' new Electoral College plan shows they're clueless, which is kind of fun. I could have told you that. Democrats are launching a pointless attempt to claw back power. They like that claw back term. A group of Senate Democrats introduced a bill on Monday to abolish the Electoral College. U.S. Senators Brian Schatz of Hawaii, and Dick Durbin, a.k.a. Dickie the Turban of Illinois, and Peter Welch of Vermont introduced a constitutional amendment to install a nationwide popular vote in presidential elections. Well, Trump won that one, too, but never mind that. Currently, a network of 538 electors represent the 50 states. Yeah, I heard something about that. Whichever candidate secures at least 270 wins.